Warning. What you are about to see and hear is for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed on the show are our opinions and do not reflect the views of BTW21 or its staff. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel and Chad.
God is looking for someone real. People are looking for something real. Just be real. You're here with us on the Be Real podcast. Your host, Daniel Lewis, Brother Chad Hudson.
Hello, good to see you.
We got we tried to have them last year. They wanted to get some more content out there, which I thoroughly enjoy a lot. And for somebody to work for something and to put that much effort into it, that's what it's all about. And local guys doing local things about local history. And it's just amazing. We have Doss Marlowe with us here. Yeah. Is it Andrew Doss?
Andrew, Andy, whatever.
Andy Doss.
Either way.
Yes. Mr. Marlowe.
Yes, sir. Jarred Marlowe.
Jarred Marlowe, yes. Cool deal. Good to have you out here.
Thank you.
We look to promote what you're doing. You've really made an impact in the Henry County area. We've also done some of the stuff ourselves. We went around, got some old photos, and then went to some new stuff and took pictures. But y'all have really gotten in depth. So I'm here to find out what you've sent to us, which is how you got started, how you met each other, if you don't mind, and then what. I guess you got to have a love for history.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So who's going to talk to me?
What?
Who wants to start out?
I guess,
who wants to start out?
Since I'm older, I'll start off.
I pull that card too. I really do. I pull that card. I'm the old one here.
Well, it's funny because I'm actually I live in Callens, but I'm from Bassett, and so I grew up in Henry County, and so I married a wonderful Callens lady.
If you get a little bit closer, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
You can move that if you want to.
Well, all right. Yeah, how about that? Is that good?
Oh, that's good.
So anyway, I married a woman that's from Callens. That's how I ended up in Callens, but grew up in Bassett and the Henry County area, and have worked there pretty much my entire working career. But I started going to church with my wife at a place called County Line Christian Church, which is like on the border of Henry and Pennsylvania County. And that's where I met Jarred. Jarred had grown up in that church, and
Christian church.
It's right, Christian church, and they. So he was probably one of the first people. Even though I'm older than he is, we were both involved in the music program.
Okay.
There, and that's how I got to know him. And
so you're an instrumentalist too.
Yeah. So right.
So you sent me that, but I can't remember what do you play?
Well, so I normally play bass guitar.
Okay. Yeah.
But when we started playing, I'd always played lead guitar most of my life since I was a teenager. And so we had a little group where we were just playing music, but we would also do the regular praise team stuff.
Oh, that's show part 2 then.
Yeah,
right. Okay. I mean, for real, y'all got to come out here.
So, we had a great time doing that, and we just we talked. What were the stuff we would talk about?
Well, we talked every day about everything, but
when we were at church, like the kind of things that we were interested in.
Yeah, we would just kick around history things that, being younger, and not really.
Now, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? I'm sorry.
I'm 30.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm 50. So
really?
Yeah,
man.
So,
y'all do not look your age. I'm just saying. I wouldn't have guessed that. You're sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you're fine. But growing up, I wasn't really taught the local history stuff, and it's no fault to me about anybody's. But as I'm getting older, I'm learning history stuff, and here I found somebody who already knows this history stuff and can expand on it. So our mutual interest started to click, and then we're actually the exact opposite. I grew up in the Danville area, and then moved up here about 8 years ago. So we kind of crossed paths in our journeys. But
y'all do have a train track in common.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, that is true.
I guess you could say that.
It rolls through.
Right.
Well, it used to roll through.
Right. Yeah, you used to. But yeah, it's interesting how it all happened, because we got started really working when I had just moved up here and you were down there. But I guess our story is we were kicking around these history ideas and history facts off each other, and I was sitting around one day and I thought about, what if we started a podcast? Because we're having great conversations about this, and not a lot of people know this stuff. They drive by it every day, or they may have heard bits and pieces about it growing up, but that was decades ago and they don't remember it.
So that's what I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's what I noticed when I was watching some of your videos. There are names and there are people that I'm aware of. There are streets, but I didn't understand how they all tied together.
Right.
So listening to one of your programs, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. That's where that was at that point in time.
Yeah, and so we're kicking around these ideas, and I was like, what if we started a podcast? Not to make millions, but just to let people know that.
Amen. We know that's right. We know that's right.
But just to let people know, there's a lot of cool stories that happen, outside your front door.
Right.
There's a lot of history out there, and it turns out he had been thinking along those same lines much longer than I had. So then he kind of took the video channel idea and ran with it.
Nice.
Well, and if we take it back a bit further, it's funny because we really didn't.
We love to take it back.
Well,
We're
taking
gonna start there, and then
taking
we're
it
gonna
back.
take it back some more.
Take it back.
We actually never talked about local history at first. It was stuff like, oh, do you remember that scene in Spinal Tap?
Yeah.
It was,
It was just like pop culture stuff.
Right. It was like the craziest pop culture stuff that we would come up with. We're like, oh yeah, boy, that's tell you what, the Rolling Stones are still kicking, aren't they? Yeah. It's like it was just stuff like that. And we were talking about, oh hey, did you know that the woman from Married with Children sang backup on Kiss's song?
She did.
It was like, really? Wow, that's great. And it's the kind of stuff we were at church talking about all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
They were messaging each other. Who knows what you would see if you went through our messenger chats for the past 12 years, I guess.
Yeah. Whoever's watching us at the FBI is probably just very confused as to what's going on.
So that's great. Amen. We got the same thing going on.
It's good to have a brother. It's good to have a brother, man. For real.
So we always had a good time joking with each other just about history and movies. And stuff like that, rock and roll history in particular, and oh hey, I love Nirvana, but I sure love Foo Fighters. That's it's like things worked out.
Right. So where the history podcast, where'd that come? I mean, that's within the last year?
Right. So
last 2 years.
So when you start doing history stuff like this, you say, okay, well, I want to know about. I'm just going to make a name up here. I'm just going to say I want to know about J.D. Bassett. Okay. Well. Then you start accumulating all this little stuff. Like, let's say this bottle is J.D. Bassett. But then you've got stuff about this house, or this house that was down the road, or this person that lived down the road that brought their mail, or the person that came to their house and brought the newspaper to them every day.
Right.
So you end up with all these little stories, and that's what we really found. We were like, well, how do we, all this stuff that we're kind of accumulating, how do we ever share that with other people?
Yeah.
Well, that's how you write a book, right? You have a main title or a main set that you want to talk about, but then you add on these little stories. And that's, I did like on a show that I watched, you did, it was a story of I can't remember.
Collins?
Yeah, it was Collinsville.
And we were automatically like, I think it's going to turn out to be Collinsville because it was before Collinsville.
It was before Collinsville, and we were adding little pieces, and we're like, oh, I know what they're talking about.
This road, that road, Virginia Avenue. Oh,
right, it was great. I love that. Those little stories that add to the big story.
Yep.
Yeah, Wheeler, I love it.
Yep. And that's the way we feel about stuff like we talked about the big chair. Well,
Yes.
everybody sees that big chair in Martinsville all the time.
Right.
But do you know
Where'd it come
the story
from?
behind the big
Yeah.
chair?
So we
We
got
parked our
pictures.
bikes
We
under.
got pictures of the motorcycle under that
Yeah, we-
bike.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know where it come from. Where it come from?
So that, the concept. Well, so that's
Please check out the channel.
Yeah,
for that.
check out the channel and you will find out the
There
rest
you
of the
go.
story.
There you
Well,
go.
It's a good story because probably one of my favorite parts about that is that it actually was a marketing thing that Bassett Furniture did back in 1958.
1958.
Right.
Ah.
They decided to build this big chair, and they were going to give it to their biggest account at the time as a kind of a thank you for, hey, you guys have been great selling all our furniture. And they worked out this big fanfare thing they were going to do with them. They're going to take this big chair and deliver it up there in Washington, D.C., where this account's located.
Right.
And so it was built in Bassett, the original big chair, which you see in
We got a
Martinsville.
picture of it. I don't know if they were digging around, but anyway, go ahead
Well,
while you're
yeah,
talking.
so-
They can throw it up there.
Well,
I ain't worried about that. Right. I'm sorry.
they can put it in and
ain't worried
put
about
it in
it.
Anytime,
and,
you can just throw it up there anytime.
do it in post, right?
Right,
So they
right.
anyway they so that's a good story because Thomasville Furniture at the time had the largest chair, and so the two Bassett brothers, Eddie and Charles,
Yeah.
yeah,
There you go, brother.
That's it.
Look at that.
That's
Wow.
a big
Yeah,
sucker.
now that's
there.
right. That's right. That would have been over there near where the train station is now.
Yeah. That's big.
Every one of those guys could
That's
sit up,
huge.
sit up in that chair.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild.
You just climb up there and get a
Yeah,
picture.
so that was a big deal at the time.
Amen.
But they ended up making this chair end up being, I'm trying to remember the exact height. It was 12 inches, or was it 11 inches? 11 inches taller than Thomasville's chair because what happened was Eddie and Charles Bassett were like, well, how are we going to make this big chair and make it better than what Thomasville has?
Right.
So they drove down to Thomasville and went onto Thomasville's property and with a ladder, and we're getting ready to climb up to measure the chair when the security guard busted in down there. And they explained, they said, oh, we're actually students in the furniture production program at NC State. They had actually already graduated from that program.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, what a great idea. And he helped them steady the ladder and held the flashlight for them while they climbed up, measured the chair. They come back to Bassett, they give it to the designer, and we end
Made
up
the
with
biggest
this
chair.
biggest chair at the time, which was then moved to the Anacostia neighborhood in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And it is still that chair has been replaced too because the wood chair won't last forever.
Yeah,
but they have an aluminum chair on their spot today because it was such a beloved landmark.
Really?
If you go there now, there's the big chair still there.
And it says Bassett, Virginia.
It's got a little plaque on there that says the story. It's got the story behind it.
That's cool,
So,
man.
but
Yeah.
so there's a lot of stuff people just
That's
don't
cool.
know, and that chair in Martinsville is a nod to that.
A little bit smaller than that one
So
right there.
real quick,
Quite
before-
smaller.
Right. Before we get into more stories, where can people find your content? Where can they look?
So
it
if
up
they
and-
go to
we'll say
official-
this over and over again
Sure.
throughout the show.
So the official name is, we call it Doss Marlowe History Insight.
I love it.
And the idea was, we were trying to think of a cool name, and we were like, well, it's insight to history, but it's also, we're putting it in sight because it's a video. So we broke apart in and sight, so it's history in sight. We just thought that was kind of cool
That
and
is
catchy.
cool,
but
man.
Yeah.
Very cool. And we'll have the links
Anyway.
below for those that are. If you're not watching on if you're watching on BTW 21, you just go to our YouTube channel, and we'll have the links below. We'll have all the links below to where you can watch us. Very interesting.
great stuff.
Yeah, it is good stuff.
But so we've put together the content. A lot of times lately, it's been we work and we have families. It's sometimes easier if I do all the video and production work, and Jarred to put together scripts and narrations. So he may want to talk about some of these things he's done, like.
Who's the voice? You're the voice.
Well,
That
we kind of
kinda
share.
switch-
we
switch
kinda-
back and
it depends
forth?
on the timing. Sometimes
I
it's
like
just
it.
easier for me to do the video and him do
Right,
the
right.
audio. So
Yeah.
I love it. Both of y'all have a really good voice.
Well, thank you.
By the way.
Thank you. One thing that kind of got me started in doing this was he's still currently on the board at the Martinsville Henry County Historical Society.
Oh, really?
I'm a former board member, but I used to volunteer at their courthouse museum, and I used to give tours and walk people around. And the biggest comment that I got while doing that was, "I've lived here my whole life, and I didn't know this."
Right.
So
Right.
that kind of prompted me. Okay, let's get some of these stories out there. And you mentioned the Collinsville video. That one just simply stemmed from an idea of I live in Collinsville, and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how it got its name.
Right.
I didn't know, the backstory of it because, I mean, if you didn't know any better, you would just think Martinsville kind of just branches out into Collinsville because there's no really dividing line.
It's not.
It just kind of just has a branch going out, but
and has been for a while.
Right, but it has its own story. So I started researching Collinsville at the Bassett Historical Center and putting together. Okay, here's a little bit of this story, a little bit of this story, and we started combining things together and getting some old pictures because they have tons of resources there.
That's great.
And I sent him a lot of pictures. I recorded the audio at my house, sent it to him, and he's the wizard when it comes to putting everything together. So all the production stuff you see and the aerials and
I saw some aerials on there.
Yeah, all that. That's
cool.
That is all him. I can turn on a computer and talk into it, and that's about the extent of it.
Me too.
But the combination that you guys have is just, I mean, it makes magic. It really does.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been good because I always wanted, like he mentioned before, I always wanted to do something like this, but I was like, there's no way I can do this by myself.
Right.
I just don't have the time to do it by myself, or it would take me 2 months.
Yeah.
To put out.
Well, it's like him. I don't have the intellect or the resources to be able to do it, but we both feed off each other, so we have this podcast.
Right.
It's what it is.
Yeah, teamwork.
There's no way in the world I could do this by myself, and I wouldn't want to.
Right.
We talked about it for years before we actually come up with this podcast, and so it's been a blessing in my life, big time.
And that's what it was like for us. I mean, we'd take our motorcycles and we'd ride all over the place, and we'd have these conversations just like we're doing because you meet some great people out there.
Yeah, you do.
Sure.
And we'd have these conversations, and they would be just like this. Mm-hmm. Where are you from? What are you doing?
Laid back.
Get in, laid back, just and this evolved into the podcast here. So it does take that, It does take some brotherhood or some partnership or some, influence or some creativity or something to feed off each other.
Where are y'all from? I guess that's so. Jared
Patrick
knows.
County.
I said both of y'all are from Patrick County.
Yes.
Is that?
Well, he's
I'm
roundabout.
I'm from the world.
Okay.
I like to say. I like to say I'm from this
Which is
world.
good.
At least I'm from this world. No, but I was born here in Martinsville.
Okay.
And
Same.
I grew up in Connecticut.
Okay.
And then I spent some time out in California. Spent some time in New Mexico, and in my early 20s I came back home. So it kind of made a little circle, but. I found my brother, it was probably, I knew him for, 15 years or so.
Right.
And, he came in and he worked on the computers in the lab. I owned a veterinary clinic. I didn't own it at the time. Dr. Boyce did, Locke Boyce. And he'd come in and took care of all the computers, took care of all the lab work. And we'd see each other once in a while. Hey. And then Locke got us working on a CD that he put together. And that was Daniel and I's first project together was a CD cover.
Very artistic.
Nice.
I didn't know anything about making a CD cover. No. I'm not sure how much he knew about it, but he was all involved, and I was like, I liked his energy.
Yeah.
And that's probably what you guys feed off each other is that energy for what you're involved in.
Right.
Yep.
And what I brought to that session was a rattlesnake.
All right. Well,
And energy too.
But
energy.
Okay, and
Ideas.
He had Locke wanted a guitar on his album cover, and he wanted a rattlesnake. And
Nice.
I was the guy to put the rattlesnake on the
Because
on
I'm
the
not
guitar.
dealing with no damn rattlesnake. I got guitars all day long, but no rattlesnake for me.
Right.
well, yeah. I mean, it's sort of the same way, I guess, with us because when it comes to doing history, nothing is done like in its own silo, right? You have to ask people questions, and who knows? I don't even know how many people we've talked to since we started doing this.
Lordy.
To try to get
I love
information.
I can
from
only
people.
imagine. And then what excites me is that you guys put a story together.
Right.
and it freaking makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like the story goes together, and I love that.
And there's
Yeah.
people out there that know this, that have lived in generations out here, whether they lived through it or whether they, come to listen to their mom and dad or whoever talk about it. And so it's like, man, I never knew this. I never, up there in Stewart, we got Abram Penn. We got, Stewart used to be Taylorsville. It's just like if you do that research, it's
Well,
just amazing.
you think you know Patrick County,
think
and then
you know
these
it.
guys
Sure.
are going to go investigate and tell us all new things.
Right. Right.
And
I love it.
maybe you want to mention the Sons.
No, you can have that one.
Well, okay. Well, so we
got to hear it now.
Well, so we're both members of the Sons of American Revolution.
Oh,
as
yes.
well.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
Now
Yes.
I've been in it for a long time, and I'm a past president. And
Nice. Okay.
But I've been doing most of the registrar work since about 2009 or so, and I've done about almost close to 70 men's applications.
Wow.
So that's another big thing that
Yeah.
I enjoy doing is genealogy.
So it's Sons of Revolution.
Sons of the American Revolution.
Okay, American
Right,
Revolution.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Because
I-
we got Sons of Confederate Veterans also.
Correct.
But that's totally different.
That's different.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So this is focused mainly on people who've had either they've served in a military capacity or some sort of capacity that was offensive to the British Empire.
Gotcha.
And
1776.
so there you go.
Or 75.
Or that. So it could be a
Right.
committee of
It
safety.
started.
All right. Committee of safety of 75 would count as well if
Nice.
one of your ancestors was in that.
Yes.
So that's been a huge part of our life the past few years. And he is currently the president of the local chapter.
Nice, man.
So-
Cool. Yeah. I'm glad we're getting all this out.
Our chapter covers Martinsville, Henry County, but we have members from Pittsylvania County, Danville,
Patrick?
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
Cool.
Patrick.
Yeah, that's where we're from. So
Yep.
We have a guy that comes down from Roanoke.
you're nice. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's a big part of it because going back to the SAR stuff, a lot of the names of the Patriot ancestors for our chapter members are the same last names that you see on people around here.
Wow.
It's the Penns.
That's cool.
It's the Wallers.
Yeah.
Turners.
And the Turners. And we can point back to say, okay, your 5th or 6th great grandfather was this person.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, we've been in
love
this
it.
game so long that we can be like, okay, so yeah, if you descend from a Penn, you're probably Abram's descendant, or if your last name is Turner, we're like, well, you're probably descended from Shadrach Turner or Francis Turner,
Right.
Wow.
And both of them were patriots. So
Ain't that cool?
So it's kind of like we've got these narratives that stick around in our heads.
And at one point,
so-
we were a part of the whole region. I guess it was Montgomery County. It started out Montgomery and then split up to Patrick.
Right. So actually, this area was not part of Montgomery County.
Okay.
It actually you could go back to Lunenburg.
Okay.
You have to start at the east and work your way over.
Gotcha.
So it probably extended to Montgomery County. This part was not in
Right.
Montgomery County, but and it just kept partitioning. Because I have one particular ancestor, Charles Thomas, who lived up here at Poplar Camp Creek in Patrick County now, but his deed records are in 5 different counties
Wow.
because he never moved.
Oh, wow.
The county moved around him.
County
Wow.
moved
So-
around him.
That's cool, man.
So it's interesting. Yeah,
So
you
as
talk
far-
about Patrick County. I've
what-
got Patrick County roots, strong
Yes,
Patrick County
what was
roots too,
Henry
but-
County part of then? So I know Patrick County was Montgomery at one time, and then it.
Oh
in
yeah, okay. Part
1791.
of Patrick County. You're correct.
Yeah, 1791 is when we.
This area was the 1730s. It was Brunswick County,
Brunswick, okay.
and then it became Halifax,
Oh, really?
and then Pennsylvania, and then Henry County, which was what we now know as Henry, Patrick, and Franklin.
Right.
And then when Henry County came along, it was unique because it was the first county in the state to not be named after something in England.
Really?
So you have Pennsylvania County.
Yeah, I think Pennsylvania County. That's
Yeah.
that's what we know.
Halifax, and then you have Patrick and Henry named after, of course, Patrick Henry, and Franklin
Yeah.
named after Ben Franklin. So those 3 counties were the first ones in the state to not be named after something.
First ones in the state.
Yep, so we
So now we got 100 counties.
Yeah, there's a lot of counties now. Yeah, there was big counties back in those days. It was
Right.
huge
I mean, it was
counties.
huge
Right.
regions of mass.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
and if you think about it going across the state, you have like Fairfax County and King or Prince William County
Yeah.
and all. But once you get towards the western part of the state, it's Henry, Patrick, Montgomery, Floyd,
Right.
with Washington, Lee.
And even before that, I mean, we were part of West Virginia. They seceded from the Union, so I mean, it just kind of was. I mean, we were a big state.
Oh yeah,
Huge state.
Oh, yeah.
It just blows my mind.
It was almost bigger.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
because
I would
almost-
say it's
part of
probably
Kentucky
was bigger.
Was part of it.
Yeah,
Was going
part
to
of
be
Patrick County.
it.
I mean, part of Virginia also.
So
yeah, it
it's,
blows my mind.
Yeah,
Right. It's weird how things change
Yep.
over time. I don't think they're ever going to change again. I don't see anybody seceded.
I doubt that they'll
Yeah,
change
right.
it,
We
but-
are what we are now.
Yeah, I think there are some counties that still dispute like
borders,
Yeah.
right?
So I think there are still
borders
things
with Carolina or border.
I think we're still
Kentucky.
some state. It seems like I read something where some county in Virginia they still have a little bit of a dispute with
West Virginia.
where the mountain
Right.
divides
right,
the
West
county.
Virginia. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Interesting.
Who gets what? And
right.
Right.
So
So this kept going, and then so y'all met, and how we've talked about it, but what are you basing you're basing yourself on Martinsville, Collinsville?
that's our main area of focus.
Yeah.
We have a few videos that are. I think we have a couple in Patrick and a couple in Danville because, of course, I grew up in Danville, so I have a
Right.
Danville connection. But
Yes.
I would say 90% of our videos are Martinsville and Henry
Right.
County.
I love it.
that's because it's easy.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
is.
we got access to that information.
Well,
right?
I think,
Right.
know,
Right.
You know, we've talked about this on our show before. From Danville to Roanoke, Patrick, we're all the same people.
We are.
You know,
I think so.
We
Yeah.
are.
You know,
I thoroughly believe that.
Yeah.
And the Dan River actually starts in Patrick County.
That is
That's true.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
we start in
Goes
Patrick
right
County.
through.
Yep.
Goes right through Danville.
It is. Yeah, it's weird.
And
Yeah.
while we have Danville is the name of, I would think the name of Danville came from the Dan River.
Well,
I don't know.
But
Is that
Is
that accurate,
yeah.
somewhat?
Was it William Byrd? No.
Well, now you're going to throw me a loop.
There was an expedition in
Yeah.
the early 1700s by.
That's okay.
His last name was Byrd. The name escapes me at this point. Anyway, he
He was probably the colonel. We'll say colonel.
yeah, and his job was to draw the dividing line between North Carolina and Virginia.
Oh wow!
He-
What a job!
Yeah, he was surveying. So he started out east, and he just kept progressing west. And he said that the place where the Dan River was looked like the place of Dan from the Bible.
Yeah.
He-
Okay.
and he also named Eden too. After,
Yeah.
after,
Yeah.
after-
Eden right there with
yeah,
it. The Pinnacles of Dan is in Patrick
Right.
County.
So
I love that.
It has a biblical origin, but locally it dates back to the 18th century.
Nice. Ain't that something wild?
we
Well,
are, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead. We got a ton of pictures to go through. We got to end this half. It went through really, really quick, but they sent us some pictures out. Like I said, if you want to see, well, there you go. They're going to throw some pictures.
Okay,
up there.
so
Now, we'll talk about this.
yeah, let's talk about
We'll
this,
talk
'cause-
about this on the second half. But if you want to join us, if you want to join them, just check out the links below. We'll have it in the YouTube channel, and you can see a whole lot more and get a whole lot more in depth. We're just all over the place. I'm all over the place.
Right.
Yeah, but
There's
I
100
thoroughly-
questions.
There's
that I
100
had
questions.
that I just don't
100
have anymore.
questions.
Anyways,
We'll be right back.
Back.
Please like and subscribe. We appreciate it. Thank you. And we're back, I think. Are we back, Chad?
Oh my God. Who knows what we got?
We're cooking.
We're cooking with nothing. Not grease, not nothing. So we might not have the first half of the show.
We're burning it up.
That's okay. We're
That's
going to
okay.
start again.
Yeah.
We're going to introduce y'all.
Yes.
We won't go over, maybe we'll find what we lost there.
Right.
But,
right. And we got a bunch of pictures to go over.
That's true.
So we got
That's
stuff
true.
to talk about.
So Dawson Marlowe.
Yes, sir.
Is that how you say it?
Yep.
Yeah, Dawson Marlowe.
What's the first
Good to
names?
have y'all over on the show again. If people don't get to see the first half, you are definitely historians of Henry County, Pennsylvania County, Martinsville, and also Patrick County, just the whole region. And we greatly appreciate y'all coming out here, working with us, being on the podcast. It's been fun.
It's been fun.
No, it has.
Miss
It's been fun
Shania
with
left. For the viewers that don't know, Miss Shania has left the production of the show. She went to go teach at
arts.
elementary school. Arts.
Yeah, art
I'm
teacher.
not sure what year.
Art teacher.
What grade? She didn't tell
I'm
me.
not sure.
But
I think
an
she
arts
covers
teacher.
many grades.
But anyway, so we've had a little bit of difficulty since she left.
Technical.
But we'll get it fixed. And,
we're going to get it straight.
So we recorded a whole half a show, and we can't find it now. So we're going to just either start anew or we're just going to continue our conversation.
We'll just talk to these brothers and get the photos up there and learn some more about Patrick and Henry County. Henry, Martinsville, Collinsville.
Sure.
I love it. All right. If you can show some of the
got some pictures?
Oh. Yeah. Hey.
Yep, that's us.
That's you guys.
That is you guys.
So they're
Oh, go back.
wait a minute.
Well,
Sorry.
that is not you guys. You guys weren't born
There we
yet.
go.
Yep. So right there in the middle is our friend David Galden. And,
On the drums?
yeah, and
Okay.
and he still plays with me at County Line. But
Cool.
we practiced once a week, didn't we? We were all
So
driving
just
there.
go a little bit back. When you start talking about county line in Henry County, we think about county line, Patrick County, and Henry County.
Yes.
That's kind of what when you said that earlier.
I
was
got
like,
you.
You're county line,
Right,
but
right,
you're,
right. The
you're
other
talking
county
about
line.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
the other county line.
Pennsylvania County. This is County Line Christian Church on the
Okay,
Henry,
cool.
Pennsylvania.
Out there in the Axton area, is that what?
Yes, Mountain Valley heading towards Callens.
Mountain Valley's got its own road.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Mountain
Yep.
Valley, cool.
We were, we played a lot together and had some fun, and like I said, we never really talked history.
So these are the beginnings there. If we can bring that picture back up, this is the beginnings.
Yep.
So what year is this? What we're looking at?
That's probably 2019. I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe 2018.
Yeah, 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
5-6 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So both of y'all were instrumentalists, and then got into the band in the church.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden formed this relationship. Realized y'all had some history going on, and it progressed from there.
Yep.
And so it's like local history. I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Oh yeah. We used to have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, we did.
It takes time. This is
Oh
one of them
gosh, I
things
can imagine.
Yeah, you really have to dedicate a lot of time to this, and we, like I said, I told you before, we got things in life, and he's been married since then, so
Right.
it's now he's got a family. And,
Well, both of you are married.
yes,
Right.
We have children.
Yes.
yep. I have a 16-year-old and an 11-year-old boy. A
16-year-old.
Yep.
Wow. Really?
So
cool.
and she loves to do a lot of drawing, and he loves electronics. So it's always interesting around the household.
Man, kids really make it. They
Oh
really
yeah.
do.
Oh yeah.
What
Yeah,
about you, brother?
Yourself?
I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she's into tearing up everything.
Absolutely.
Well, this man's got 8 kids. He's got a generation. I mean, it's just every generation you want to know.
Right.
From your generation all the way back to now.
30 to 3.
Yeah.
And
30
then
to
one on the
3.
way.
Yeah, one on the way
wow.
coming
Yeah.
in May.
It's amazing.
8 children. So you guys were talking about descendants on the first half of the show, if we find it. And during the break, I was telling Daniel, man, 50 years from now, 100 years ago, the descendants of Chad will be all over the darn place.
That is
Right.
true.
Yeah.
I don't think people really realize if you're having children, right, and then they have children, because if you just think, okay, well, who are my great grandparents? Well, okay, now you're already talking, 6 people? No, 8,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Several, yeah.
now you go to great, and you're already exponentially, like the amount of people in your tree has already grew that much just that you
Right.
came from.
Yeah.
Right.
You start going back,
A couple hundred years there.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So,
wild.
and I know in my own genealogical work, I go back a long ways with some of my stuff, and you got to have like something, like it really helps. Technology's really helped because now you can use like
Oh, yes.
Ancestry or something.
So
to,
thankful for
to
that.
help with those
Right.
things and keep stuff.
But like
straight.
me and Hibbs talked about, you got the sense. What I've known of my grandparents is a census. You can see their names in that, and then I've got tombstones, and you can see that, or find a grave. They can just go back and see their cemetery. But what we're trying to lay down is now we have the technology to where I'm hoping, if we get 70 years, 80 years down the road or whatever, and we're gone, our kids, grandkids can look back and say, I know a little bit more about my grandpa.
Sure.
Instead of just, and I'm so thankful that they fought in World War I, World War II, Civil War, stuff like that. But it's still, you get to know them a little bit. So they're looking at this technology going, I don't like technology. But when they're looking back at it, they go, wait a minute, I can know his feelings. Sure. Look at him. And you can actually see him.
Yeah.
Instead of just a picture that's black and white or brown or
And that's
whatever.
why I really appreciate what you guys do.
Right.
I mean, that local history is not taught. You have to really want to go out and invent or, investigate a little bit.
Yeah.
But, what Daniel said was I've got 2 pictures and 5 stories of my grandfather.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
My kids have that on any given weekend of me.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a picture somewhere of Chad, and then there's a story behind it. But I really appreciate what you guys do.
Technology's opened up so much. Because I know when I first started doing genealogy, I only had maybe a couple pictures of my grandpa Doss, and because he died in 1981 or 1982. And
that's not that long ago.
well, I mean, yeah, but I was born in
forever.
'74. I didn't have a single picture of myself with him.
Right. Oh man.
And and I thought, well, I guess this is what we have. This is all the photos we have of Grandpa.
Right.
And then, not to mention my great grandpa Doss. I only knew of one photo. Well, I have like 10 photos of him now because thanks to
that's
technology
great.
and reaching out to distant cousins.
That's wild.
They're like, oh, well, I have a photo of
Ain't
great
that great?
grandpa Doss,
When you
and then
find
they
that,
send me a photo, and now I've got more photos than I ever thought
Priceless.
I would have
Priceless.
of those family members.
Priceless.
And I'm sure Jared has similar experiences.
I do, and kind of bringing it back to our channel, what we found in researching history is a lot of people know a little bit of the story. So we're trying to connect all those little bits together, and we found out even after we've put out videos that, oh, that's so and so. He was my neighbor, or that's my uncle so and so, and then they'll tell stories in the comments, or if we post it to Facebook, then that gets a conversation going of deeper connections there, which is I've always found fascinating because it sparks memories in these people, and all these comments, they're going to be archived forever somewhere.
Right.
So generations later, you can go back, you can watch the video, and you can read these conversations people were having that further add to the story.
Yes.
And that truly makes it complete.
It does. When it boils down to it, I mean, all we have is family and we have friends. And so when you have people that are connected to that relationship that you've had with those, I've got pictures of friends now that, this daughter or the granddaughter wants to say, hey, I wish I knew my dad a little bit more. Back it up just a little bit. I had this best friend of mine. He passed away when he was 23, got killed in a car accident. The girl he was with at the time was his fiance. She was 3 weeks pregnant. Now this boy is 21 years old, 22, somewhere around there. I'm going to mistake that. But he's wanting to know more about his dad. And he has nothing to go back and look at it because we're in the 90s. There's no technology in the 90s. I mean, there was a little bit of technology, but
Thank
not
God,
what we
really,
have now.
because I didn't need any of
Don't
that evidence
need to
out
be
there.
on there. I don't need no pictures of the 90s or early 2000s of me. But he's wanting to know more about his dad, so we connected. We went to Wendy's. We got to talk, and he was just like, I just want to know, what was my dad interested in? I thought that was cool. But now we have this platform, YouTube, thankfully, and other platforms that we can use to where we can, they can just go look at it. Ancestry.com, like you was talking about. It's not just a birth certificate or a registration or I joined the Army or Marines or whatever at this time. It's something that means something a little bit more because you know who they really are.
Yep.
Whether you get along with them or not. I might have got along with my grandpa. I don't know.
Yep.
I know he drunk PBR, and I do too.
Well, we kind of talk about we think of like phrases that describe what we believe in when it comes to history and stuff.
I love it.
We like to think of it's crowdsourced history. It's open source history. It's democratized history because we believe that if it's something historical and somebody's interested, you should do everything you can to make sure that that's shared to that person and that you don't keep it, because if something happens to you, that story's gone.
Right. Just like I've lost my grandparents, and those stories are gone. They rely up here unless I write them down. I got both my grandma's Bibles, and they've wrote a lot of stuff in there, and I'm so thankful because a lot of those stories come out when I was younger, when I really wasn't interested in it. I thought they was going to live forever.
Right.
And then next thing you know, it's like boom, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know.
And that's also what's prompting what we do, because we're at a time now where the greatest generation's all but gone, and then their kids are aging, or the boomers are aging, and a lot of these stories that the boomers grew up with and the greatest generation knows, it's going to leave when they leave, when they pass.
Right.
So, and back then people wrote down everything, letters, journals, diaries.
Yes.
You don't really see that as much today.
No.
So
all we have is technology.
Right. So one of our goals is we're trying to put down something that connects all these older pieces together.
I love it.
For the future, because like I said, once some of these people pass, their stories pass with them.
Right.
And that's kind of a scary thought, to be honest.
It is.
And it's surprising. I think one thing we've been surprised is we weren't really sure who would watch this stuff. We weren't really sure if it would just. We were kind of like happy when 20 people viewed a video. We were like, oh yeah, 20 people viewed the video.
We're like triple digits. Yes.
Yeah, no, then we got like 1,000 views. We're like, wow,
too, man.
It's like,
that's
wow,
where we are.
Yeah, I'm amazed.
I love it.
But unfortunately, you guys probably will not see the jewels of your work. Your work will be appreciated later on.
And that's okay. Yeah, we're okay with that.
I'm okay with
that's
that
how
too.
that's just how it works.
Yeah.
You found it. Luis found the first half. He's the champion.
Yeah, I knew he could.
Woo!
Well, I thought
I knew he could.
If you couldn't find it, we could show a car burning up.
Right. I was coming this close. I tell you, little blood pressure was rising.
Okay, so then we have to say, where's the edit point?
Right now.
Right. We're having a great conversation, but we do have some pictures. If they will show up some pictures up there, I know the viewers would be very interested in seeing some past pictures. I think you got a lot of Bassett.
Yeah, can I give some background on that?
Absolutely, please.
Well, let's stop here, though.
Okay.
All right.
This is not Bassett.
This is not Bassett.
Yeah, this is the cabin of Colonel George Waller, and our Sons of the American Revolution chapter is named after Colonel George Waller. This cabin was located where there's a grassy lot today next to the Fieldcrest factories in Fieldale, right next to the river. So, like in between where the factory is and Fieldale Park is, there's like a little grassy
near the bridge there that we all love.
Just near the bridge.
Waller's Ford, you may see it called that.
Yep. So that's where this cabin was located, and that was the home of Colonel George Waller, and he lived there because that's the shallowest spot in the Smith River. So if people wanted to cross the Smith River, they would cross right there, and that.
There's some good fishing there too, by the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that area became known as Waller's Ford because that's where people would ford the river. And Colonel George Waller and his family and his descendants all lived there. And fast forward to 1919, when Fieldcrest came in and built the factory, there was already a town there, and they renamed Waller's Ford Fieldale.
There
you
go.
wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But last night I was cleaning out my shed. I park a motorcycle up in the shed, and I have stuff just piled up in there, years and years. I'm a pack rat. I keep something, a little historical event, and I have a book that came out in 1975 of Fieldale, and they were talking about 1919, and they were talking about when the factory was built and when all that. And I knew I should have brought it with me. I knew it. Oh, that makes me mad.
Well,
it had great pictures in
That's
it.
great,
It's
though.
real.
Yeah.
It was provided by a bank, one of the Fieldale banks, I
Neat.
believe.
Well, fortunately, one of the projects that I guess we have going on is I'm also the leader of the local 250 Commission, which celebrates the 250th anniversary of America that's coming up here in a few years. Yeah. And our first big project is we're going to put a interpretive sign in Fieldale Park next to the baseball field down there that has a picture of the cabin and tells the story of
Man, that's
George
great.
Waller. So
That is great, man.
So y'all heard it first here on
Be Real the podcast.
And to be honest with you, I said I was born here in Martinsville, but my home was Fieldale.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
where I come.
Right.
Good.
That's where I was
But
born.
yeah, that's so you know well where that
That's
cabin
great.
was
Yeah.
located.
Like I said, that's my fishing hole.
But yeah, but
I don't believe I said that loud enough.
Well, see, this is
my
some of
fishing
that. This is some of that lost history we talk about.
It is.
That's the stuff that
Very much so.
people just think of Fieldale.
Yeah.
But you don't think about George
Everything
Waller,
that took.
right.
You know.
and,
Yeah.
and how many folks drive by that spot every day?
Oh
or
my
across
gosh.
that bridge?
Don't know
Millions.
something that
and don't know something
Thousands.
that was right there.
man.
I've drove
And,
through there thousands.
And
of
Colonel
times.
George Waller was the local captain of the militia.
Yes.
Wow.
And where the factory is where they did all their drills.
Yep.
So-
Really?
So
That flat piece of
Right.
ground.
Flat
Yep,
area.
they've
Flat
been-
piece of ground,
they
so-
mustered up there.
So he was the local captain of militia, so he had a lot to do. He was very prominent in the area, and again, people drive by it every day and don't know what happened right there on that piece
Right
of
there on
ground.
that spot.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
It is. I
History to
love it.
know. Yeah, we really want people to remember Revolutionary War history. That's a big
Right.
That's a big thing
a
for
big-
us
Right.
too. So
And then what got me is you pass these areas and you see the names on the road signs, which I'm so thankful because when you see the road sign, you don't think nothing of it as Daniels Creek or, all the way out through there in Fieldale and stuff like that. But those were named after people that, either owned the area, owned the place, or, had some kind of substantial recognition in the wars.
Sure.
I mean, it
Right.
just, it's amazing to me. Abram Penn in Patrick County, I was like, what? I always thought Abram Penn Highway. Okay, I'm going down Abram
right.
Penn Highway.
And that's probably what most people think.
I know. And then
Yeah.
once you realize the history of Abram Penn, it just
Sure.
Staples Avenue is like, what?
Yep.
I mean, it just really blows your mind, and I love it. I love
yeah.
it. So somebody had some common sense to put up some monuments. Somebody had some common sense to name the names of what they've done because that commemorates the history of what you're seeing when you drive by. And,
So,
I hate that just
What
the
did you
street
guys?
name.
I don't mean to get. What did you guys feel when they were tearing down these monuments and stuff? They were
a
tearing
little
down
different
statues
subject.
and stuff.
Well, that is a deep subject, and it's we've discussed this, and we've I think Jarred and I kind of resolved ourselves many years ago that probably was going to happen at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, we're more focused on Revolutionary War, so we tried to say, okay, well, how do we protect and give meaning to what's left of Revolutionary War history? There's really not a lot we can do for Civil War history at this point.
Right.
I kind of feel like the ship has sailed a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you put yourself in danger if you try to outspeak.
Well, it's a division.
It's
a division,
Yep.
the American Revolutionary War. It was a division also, but it's kind of country against country. When you have the Civil War, it's brother against brother. And so that's a little difficult to, I would say, for some people. Coming from my history, I'm more of on the Confederacy side, just from where I am living in the state of Virginia, and also just raised up I had many ancestors that fought in the Confederacy again, in the Civil War. So I mean, it means a lot to me. I hate seeing that happen, but I can understand the other point of view also. It's just a weird situation.
I'm not in
odd
I'm not in
situation.
support of it, right? Of the,
Right. Yeah,
of
me
the
either.
removal of things like that.
No, me either.
And
'Cause how can
do
you learn from
see
something?
I do see
Right.
people's opinions are their opinions.
I can, yes.
And as you know, who the loudest voice usually is where
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna, that's the way
Yeah.
things go, as far
Right.
as laws and everything nowadays. It's just
It's
kinda the way
like
it works.
to me, in just my opinion, it's like burning books. It's like you just don't agree with this book, so let's burn it. And I don't agree with that. Even though I don't like a lot of books out there. I mean, I'm not a fan of Nazis or Mein Kampf from Adolf Hitler. But I mean, it's history, so you got to realize that that's a part of the history. And so, but I mean, everybody's got their own opinions.
Well, you
and
brought
stuff.
up Hitler. When I was a teenager, I collected a lot of World War II stuff just because my grandfather had that, and then I collected it.
Right.
And there were some things with some Nazi symbols on it. I wasn't collecting that because I believed in what they were doing. I was collecting in a history. This is what happened.
Yes.
Right.
This was what went down for real.
Right.
And the same thing for me, the Civil War. Regardless of, the slavery, and I know that stuff raises a lot of feathers on people's necks, but all that information that we have was history, and that's what brought us here today.
Sure.
Where we are as Americans.
Right. For me, there's still slavery happening today.
Oh, yeah.
Today, there's
Paid
still
slavery.
slavery happening. And why shouldn't that be part of the story of this is how we better things?
Sure. Right.
So that was my intake on.
It's
on
pretty
taking down
wild.
the
Well, it might be a
statues.
good segue into, you might want to mention the group you're part of.
Right, sure. I am a correspondent, I call myself, for a group called the Blue and Gray Education Society.
Man, you got a lot going on.
I know I do.
I love it. I love it.
And one thing we do is we're primarily a Civil War education company, but with blue and gray in the name, that's, we're covering both sides. We're
Right.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Right.
We're not leaning towards each other. We're trying to put stuff out there that just educates people.
Open conversation.
And the bottom line of this whole discussion is, regardless of what side of the fence you fall on, regardless of your beliefs, you need to study the history and make those opinions on your own.
Yes.
Well, how do you fix tomorrow if you're just oblivious to yesterday?
Exactly.
Right.
If you just throw up the black curtain,
We're killing the next generation.
Exactly.
We're killing it.
Yep. So anybody who wants to have a stance on it first needs to know the history of it, and then after they learn the history, then they can make their judgments.
Right.
Right.
I can't speak on the history of anything unless I know it. I get along. I read the Bible. I enjoy the Bible, and when I meet somebody that's never even read the Bible, but they have their opinion on it, I'm like, man, you got to get into it. I'm not got nothing against you, but please do not speak on something you don't know nothing about.
Sure.
Please don't speak on anything you don't know nothing about.
And there's a huge difference, kind of like you alluded to, of being interested and fascinated by something and then celebrating it.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Right.
So
right.
we can be interested by the Civil War. We love the American Revolution, but we're not out there celebrating necessarily the ideals of it, but we're celebrating the fact, or trying to put down the fact that this war happened all around us.
Right.
Well, my wife, she sits there and watches these murder mysteries every night. Every night she put one on the Netflix and watch a murder mystery. And I'll be looking at it and I'm like, that's not something I want to be celebrating.
Right.
But it's interesting enough,
Very interesting.
It's something you need to watch out for.
Right,
I like
right.
that word.
Yeah,
you
I
don't
do
have
too.
to celebrate it, but you should learn it.
Amen.
Really.
Amen. Got to. All right, we got some more photos up there. On to the.
Yeah,
well, I'm sorry. Yep. Do it,
Well,
bro.
I had told
Say
him,
it.
I said, it's very Bassett heavy, the photos I sent.
There you go. Something's on fire.
Yep. So this right here is when the Bassett's plant burned down in, I believe, 1931 was the
Wow.
year.
Look at them cars.
Oh, actually, this was 1917.
Wow.
And but the reason why I have a lot of Bassett heavy stuff is because I actually have a Facebook page called Bassett Looking Back, Moving Forward.
You guys are doing everything.
And so
Doing it
They're
all.
loaded.
it's one of those things I started off, just thought maybe a few hundred people would join, but it's over 10,000 people that have
Nice.
joined this group. And
Yeah.
it's Bassett, Stanleytown, Philadelphia, little
Awesome.
things
Yeah.
surrounding
Yeah.
that.
Bassett Forks. All of them.
Oh, yeah, Bassett Forks.
Yeah, I love it.
I have a funny story about Bassett Forks, too, we can talk about.
That's where my dad's from. 20 more minutes. Okay, I got it.
You just gave us 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
I
Go
thought
ahead,
that was,
brother. Go ahead,
too
sorry.
success. Very successful.
You're doing great.
Yeah. Peace, brother.
So anyway, if they want to go, I work at Bassett.
Keep going.
And what I did when I started working at Bassett, I got into going through their archives and I've somehow
And
become
there's
the
JD Bassett.
unofficial historian at Bassett. So
Really?
I've been. A lot of their history's been lost, and I'm kind of building it back up.
Building it back up.
Because
I
it was
love
born
it.
in 1902. So it's a
Right.
lot of history to
Tons
discuss.
of history. Yeah. we
That's
got-
JD Bassett, who was pretty much the grand idea to form Bassett
Ain't
Furniture.
that something?
So
Huh. Now, did he actually form the Bassett Furniture Company?
So he
or
got
was...
two of his brothers and his brother-in-law pulled their money together to form Bassett Furniture.
Okay.
It's generally accepted it was his idea. They all ran a sawmill.
Yeah.
And he was sort of the capitalist of the family.
So making furniture out of the sawmill.
Yep.
and that's where Bassett
Started off with
from.
railroad, but he made his money with railroad ties because railroad came through.
Yeah.
And
they've been rebuilding the railroad out well, not necessarily the railroad well. It still goes through there.
yeah, it does.
But they got the
Made his money on the railroad ties.
Oh man, it's a lot of
Think
money.
about
railroad
that.
ties.
What is it?
Because there was no railroad at the time.
Every
Right.
three.
So-
What is it? 3 feet in between a railroad tie or something.
So
like that?
that's why when
money.
the railroad was finished, JD thought, well, what are we going to do now with all this timber? And then all these northern companies were making furniture, and he thought, well, why are we
let's
shipping
make Bassett furniture.
lumber up there? What if we make the furniture here?
Ain't
And
that
that's how it
something?
got started.
Really?
So,
Man, I love it. So we got some more pictures up there.
so this is a nice one. So behind where the train station in Bassett is now, it used to be the Stone Theater, and I don't know if any of y'all remember that going because it was probably there. You know, you probably saw it at some point, but don't remember it because it's been gone for a long time. But Ken Maynard was a famous Western movie star back in the 30s, and
Really?
and as Stone Theater was one of the places that all Western, like Lash LaRue, and I can't think of everybody, but a
So
lot
he had
of
a
famous,
Trump. He had a Trump buzz coming through with
and
his
this was
name on
common,
it.
right? And it
Like
has
a
horse.
fifth wheel. That's like the
So-
first fifth wheel. You
Yeah,
ever
so
seen?
so
Like,
they would actually
that's
have the
a
horse
truck-
with them,
like,
you know.
that's
and
crazy.
Really?
They would come out and they do the things, they do the tricks with their whips and their guns and stuff, and that was very common in Bassett. The movie stars would come and do their
That's
tricks
cool,
for people.
man. Yeah.
So and that's just an example. that
Yeah, I
happened.
love it. I love it.
So
I was going to. Sorry, you go
no,
ahead.
no,
No,
I
no,
just
no.
talk. I just want you guys to get your drop it. To get your information out there where our people
Yeah, we've been
can
told.
find your
Sure.
people
Couple
because we
minutes,
got
yeah.
told a couple minutes. I just want to get where can you guys are doing all kinds of things. You're on the board of this. You're on the board of that. You're doing this. You're doing that. Where can we find your content?
I
at?
love it.
Well, our main content is on YouTube, and that's the Doss Marlowe History Insight YouTube channel. And that's our main local history focus. Then he runs the Bassett Looking Back, Moving Forward Facebook page.
Awesome.
I run the social media accounts and YouTube accounts for the Blue and Gray Education Society.
Nice.
So if you look on YouTube under Blue and Gray Education, you'll find that. But our main channel is Doss Marlowe History Insight.
It's on the
and
screen.
It's on the screen there. You
Okay.
You
Yeah,
can see
there
our
it is.
videos.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got.
And we'll have them linked below.
I don't
You
know
so
how
everybody
you all
can
find
it.
time to do this with the wives, the children.
It's
but
their
I can't-
passion. It's a
Right, I
passion.
can't thank you enough.
They're very
It's a
generous to us.
passion.
Yes, very generous.
Yes.
Thank you to our wives.
Yes. Thank you to them also.
So,
Yeah. Greatly appreciate y'all a whole lot. Man, good to have you.
Oh yeah,
Good
It's
to
been-
meet you again.
Thank you for having
Doss.
us on. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Marlowe.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yes, yes,
I'm
yes,
sorry that it was just blown out of the way there, and we didn't know what we were doing. But that's just normal for us.
Right. It is the Be
So-
Real podcast.
Right.
All the links are below. Check them out. And
Really check them
I
out.
would love if y'all would. I mean, I don't know. They're probably like, I ain't coming the hell back out here. But if y'all want to, I would love to have y'all back on because there is so much
Get
more
into
deep.
detail. Get
Very
deep into it.
Yeah, we got
you know?
you know, it's kind of the first half. Thank God it's been found. We got to know y'all.
Yep.
Second half, we kind of a little bit over the history of, Bassett and Collinsville area, and then so now I want to dive a little bit more deep in that. So we got to have you back. Got to have you back.
We'd love to
if
come
you'll
back.
have us.
Absolutely.
If you'll have us.
We'd
And
love
all the introduction stuff will be over. We'll just get down and
Right.
dirty and get into the history of things.
Right, because these people, they love it, and I want to give it to the people of Henry and Patrick County also. So thank
And
you.
Monroe, Connecticut. My mama likes to watch it.
We'll figure that out.
Anyways, y'all be real and come on back.
Come on
Thank
back.
you.
Bye.